Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action. Hey, what's up everybody? It is Dan here from the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and I am joined by Lucas.
Indeed.
Was meant to be joined by Scott and Rob also to do predictions for WWE Hell in a Cell 2022, but they are unable to make it tonight, so you just have us two. Sorry about that.
Well, so, there's only one Hell in a Cell match, so maybe, they need two Rebellious Noise podcasters to join us today, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so before we do get started, let's just kick things over to the predictions table after WrestleMania Backlash. It says Dan and Lucas. It says you on there twice, but I do have it on good authority that it is actually you in second place. It is you and me are the top two. Scott and Rob, it should say, is on the bottom. Obviously, your name is just used to being on the bottom anyway, so that's why it's probably just automatically there. So, it is obviously you and me, the top two. So obviously, they bring out the main eventers for this one, the top two. So, so we're going to kick things off today with the first match, which will be featuring Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel, Elias, whatever you want to call him. So let's see who's going to go first. It's going to be one of the other two, isn't it? Let's have a look. So it is number 3. So that would be generally you anyway. So you are first.
Is any point shaping? Have we got their predictions down?
No, they are going to do their predictions on the build-up show. But obviously, that's past 8 p.m. UK time, so I will be in bed by the time that they happen. So.
Okay, so shall we just alternate? So I pick this one first, you pick that
one. Yeah, might as well.
Two of us.
In the interest of fairness, as Vince I would say.
So, we have a new match. We have a match that's not been on a pay-per-view before.
Premium live event, get it right?
Yeah. So, I mean, from what I don't watch the weeklies. So, from what little I know, it seems some sort of comedy kind of gimmick they're doing where there's a twin brother kind of thing, and Kevin Owens is playing the kind of guy who's kind of, taking a brunt of, I guess, all these kind of practical kind of jokes. Now, there's two ways this goes. Obviously, either the comedy act defeats the, in this case, legitimate wrestler being Kevin Owens, which, I think after Owens obviously had his thing with Stone Cold at Mania and kind of did that, obviously was a massive part of WrestleMania, that return match. I think it would cheapen him a little bit if he was then just straight away to lose to, a comedy act, So I will go with Kevin Owens to win this one. I think that makes better sense. I think, end of the day, the comedy act can have their time on the pay-per-view. It should be a fun match. Like, I've always thought that Elias was like a good worker and before. Obviously, we haven't seen Elias wrestle on pay-per-view for quite some time now. I think since Fastlane 2021, actually, was the last time that he wrestled on a with a pay-per-view back then, so I can say that. It was a pay-per-view back then.
On a premium live event.
I don't think he hasn't been on television until since he lost to Jackson Riker, I believe. But before this whole kind of thing came out. I mean, didn't they film those vignettes where he was like smashing up the guitar and stuff?
And burying the
Elias
thing, yeah.
So nothing really came of it until obviously this.
Yeah, until he decided to shave off his beard and become Elias's younger brother, Ezekiel. But yeah, at first I thought you were going to say this could go one of two ways. Either Ezekiel wins or Kevin Owens wins. And I'd be like, well, yes, you are correct in that assumption. But yeah, yeah. I mean, do they go see the? I'm thinking because obviously it's the first match of obviously this feud, and they're obviously doing the whole Ezekiel Elias like thing with obviously Owens being the only one seemingly that's like, oh yeah, you're Elias, and yeah, I think in that sense, I think I'm gonna have to probably go with Ezekiel to win that one, purely because, as I say, I think it makes more sense, I think, for the babyface to go over in this one from that point of view, really. And also, if you guys haven't already, go back, check out the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel where you can see my interview with Kevin Owens. He talks a lot about his relationship with Triple H, story behind NXT War Games, and his big return there. Yeah, it was a tricky interview, shall we say. It was around the time, obviously, when Kevin Owens had his contract dispute. So, yeah, it was a little bit on eggshells, I guess, with what you could ask him.
He's
but
still signed by WWE.
He did resign,
as I said he would.
Yeah, you were right. You should have bonus pointed it. You should have bonus pointed it. But yeah, so then we move on to another guy who Rebellious Noise interviewed on that same day, and that is Bobby Lashley. He will be taking on Omos and MVP in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Yeah, as I said, don't forget, go back, check out the interview with Bobby Lashley. Talks about his first WWE run, the Hurt Business, and at the time why a Brock Lesnar match hadn't happened. So, yeah, so for this one, sorry, go on.
Yeah, it since did though. Yeah, it was only a couple months before, wasn't it?
Yeah, so those interviews were filmed in November, I believe. So yeah, it would have been before like the Rumble, Mania, and all that stuff. So yeah, if you do think they're a little bit out of date, that's why. Yeah, also right. So going for this match then, 2-on-1 handicap match. Obviously this was made official on Raw. They had a steel cage match where they did the spot where Lashley got essentially thrown out of the cage and both feet then hit the floor. And then they had a rematch where it was Lashley versus MVP. If MVP won, then Omos would get to pick the stipulation. And the stipulation they chose was a 2-on-1 handicap match. So, now, do I go with the two people purely because it's obviously two people, but then you've got to think the other one person is Bobby Lashley. And I think MVP could be there to take the clean victory, to take the clean loss, sorry. So, it's tricky. See, this is one I'd have wanted you to go first for. But, who do I go for? MVP or Omos? MVP and Omos or Lashley? I think Lashley's going to win this one, I think. Somehow. He'll pull it out of the bag.
It seems like it's a match that MVP is being set up to take the pin, I think. I can't see, obviously, Lashley pinning Omos. I wouldn't rule it out, but I think... Aren't they 1-1 now in this feud?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think unless they do like something where it's like a double stack pin where like, you know, MVP or Omos pins and then MVP dives on top or something, then...
Or it's very awkward because it's known that Omos isn't really the kind of person that can be kind of... You can't really do much with him in terms of a finish. You know, because obviously he's just, you know, huge. Because the only other way really is something where there's a finish, I guess, is this where obviously Lashley could do his finish on MVP. Omos comes to break it up and get kind of slammed on top of MVP. And so he could pin, so obviously the weight of Omos and obviously just having Bobby Lashley being able to be on top, like that would be enough to basically pin them both. But even then, that's a bit, it's a bit burying of Omos, I think. It's really difficult. I can't be there in a cage match set up this match.
Yeah.
I thought it'd been better to have this be the cage, but it's hard, and I guess you've got to go Hell in a Cell already, haven't they?
Well, like, imagine a 2-on-1 handicap match inside a cell. It's like there's literally nowhere to run. Like, you know.
That could have been something which could have been on their minds, maybe. But I think it's just not knowing kind of what Omos is capable. You know, really what's to do with Omos, really.
Yeah, it's a bit strange as well. A pay-per-view that they're building around Hell in a Cell, and there's literally one at time of recording, one Hell in a Cell match on the entire show. Normally they'd like just stack it with like 3 or 4. They do like 2 on the Raw before, 2 on the SmackDown before as well. Was that last year they did that? Like one on Raw, one on SmackDown. Yeah, they did one. Yeah,
Rey Mysterio, wasn't it? I think, isn't it? Yeah, Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and then Raw were like, oh, we want one as well. So.
I will go with you then and say Lashley then.
Just copying my answers, mate. It's like I was at school and people copying the answers, you know. But yeah, Bobby Lashley. I think it does make more sense. So we have a comment in the chat here. Let's see. Vinny, will we see anyone get tossed off the cell like Mankind? Obviously, Vinny's finger must have slipped after the first part of that sentence, but the only options we do have for people getting thrown off the top of the cell would be Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins, who are the only match that is a Hell in a Cell match at this PLE. Nearly said pay-per-view, but oh well. So the next match was made official on last night's Monday Night Raw, and that is for the United States Championship. Theory taking on Mustafa Ali. And we flick back over to you.
So is Ali a face then in this, I guess? Yeah.
Ali is, Mustafa Ali's a face in this feud, yeah. This was obviously set up on Raw. They had a match where I believe it was one of those like championship contender type matches or something.
I'll beat the champion, then you.
Yeah, I think. Well, or it was just their thing, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll give you a title match," blah blah blah, and then Adam Pearce came out. And
lazy booking, as Connect would say. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the last time the United States Championship was defended on pay-per-view at all. I don't think it's been as long as the Intercontinental Championship, though, saying that. I think it was Extreme Rules, wasn't it? I think it was about Extreme Rules time. I think Damian Priest was when he won. It was him, Sheamus, and there was 2 threats on it. Him, Sheamus, and I think Drew, maybe. But anyway, here we are. I think, I guess if Austin Theory is the guy they want to push going forward, it makes sense for him to get this match and for him to win. Again, I don't watch a weekly TV, so I don't know whether it's his first title defense. I think he only won it not so long ago.
Yeah, he only won it
after WrestleMania, wasn't it?
Yeah, he won it about 40 odd days ago, apparently. So I'm just doing a bit of checking now, see when the last title match on a pay-per-view was. So
you probably have to go back to the beginning. I think it was Extreme Rules last year. Pretty certain it was a triple threat: Damian Priest, Sheamus, and Ricochet.
So he did have the. So he won the title, Theory, on the 18th of March this year.
So he had it going into Mania
from Belaire, and then 18th of April. Did I say May?
It definitely wasn't at Mania.
Yeah, and then he defended it on Raw against Cody Rhodes, where he won or lost by DQ, and then defeated Mustafa Ali last night in 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Is that a house show?
No, last night on Raw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, last time that it was defended on pay-per-view was the 26th of September 2021 when Damian Priest defeated Jeff Hardy and Sheamus at Extreme Rules 2021.
Yeah, okay, that was it. Right.
And then before that was WrestleMania when Sheamus defeated Riddle for the championship.
Yeah, I mean,
WrestleMania 37.
Very underrated match, that. That's his most upper Sheamus. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with the champion retaining because I just don't think there's anything there to say that he wouldn't retain it. It just seems that it's, bless him. Mustafa Ali obviously had a lot of stuff with his contract dispute, didn't he? His contract and wanting to leave at one point, and obviously they refused that, which is very odd for companies that's doing budget cuts and got rid of people that they actually could have used. But then with some people, it's like, no, we ain't letting you go. So here we are. So I think, I'm going to go with Austin Theory retaining.
Cool. And yeah, on the subject of what you were just saying, I mean, obviously we don't get paid to promote other people's stuff, but if you do want to pay, you can do. But the Mustafa Ali interview on Corey Graves after the Bell podcast has a lot of insight into that whole thing about him wanting to leave WWE and stuff. So yeah, if you guys haven't listened to that, go ahead and listen to it. It's pretty good. So yeah. So we have another comment here from Matt Ball. Whoa, you're only smoke and mirrors.
I missed that name.
That's the old dashing Cody Rhodes, not
Dashing Matt Ball.
Dashing Matt Ball, yeah. So not dashing Cody Rhodes. But yeah, so we now are gonna. Oh, I've not even done my prediction yet. Sorry. Yes, I'm gonna go with an Austin Theory, a Theory retention.
Stupid name.
My theory behind this. Pun 100% intended. Yeah, so my theory behind this, I think, is that I mean, as much as I think Ali could do it, and it would be good to see Mustafa Ali as the champion, I just feel as though it is the right thing for Theory to retain at this stage. And if I'm right in thinking, I believe this event is in Chicago.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Which is Mustafa Ali's hometown.
I know he's losing now, don't they?
WWE love making people lose in their hometown. So, by that theory on it, then I think Ali is going to be getting the L, and Theory walks out as the United States champion. So, yeah, that's that. So then we move on to the second championship match of the night, and that is a triple threat match between Bianca Belaire, Asuka, and Becky Lynch. Some bright hair in that picture. Damn. So yeah, this one is throwing back over to me first. It's going to be quite straightforward, I think, this one. I think that Bianca is going to retain the championship. I don't see them needing to do a title change at this stage. Obviously, it's well known that this match was initially meant to be Bianca Belaire taking on Naomi, but obviously, due to issues that happened on Monday Night Raw recently, that obviously didn't happen. So we now do get left with this triple threat match. So I've lost Lucas. We've lost him somehow. So you just have to make do with me. So yeah, Bianca Belaire, Asuka, Becky Lynch. So you know what? Before we get started, I'm going to literally just give my thoughts quickly. So the Sasha and Naomi walkout thing. Yeah, I can see it from both. I mean, I've seen all the different stories on it. I've seen the WWE side of it. I've seen the Naomi and Sasha side of it. Obviously the Adidas head stream that was on Twitter. And yeah, I think to be honest, I think I'm probably on the side of Sasha and Naomi in this. But I think it's a really tricky one, because I feel as though although Vince is probably he's back. I was just literally talking about the whole thing with the Sasha and Naomi walkout. Just giving thoughts on that. So yeah, I was essentially saying that I feel as though Sasha and Naomi, I think, having read like the thread from like Adidas head, who is someone who's close to Naomi, and reading WWE's thing, it was essentially WWE's thing was a PR, like definitely a PR thing, because it's essentially, we'll stick this out before they can get their side of the story out. And everything you're kind of reading even now, excuse me, they're saying that they're not planning on doing anything at all now with the women's tag titles, even though they've announced the tournament. It's like, well, okay, that we know that was the plan initially, and that's why these two women essentially walked out. And I mean, I don't obviously condone people just walking out mid-show or, before a show, but the fact that WWE, as we know, love to change things right at the last minute. This match was not announced before Raw. So it wasn't like they've walked out and they've had to change plans right as the show's going on the air. From what we're here from the stories that's come out, this happened earlier in the day. They had enough time to change things, and we know WWE love changing things right at the last second. And I think, is it a bridge too far now for WWE with Sasha, especially because obviously it's not the first time that she's done this.
She seems to walk out more than she actually walks out in front of the fans. It seems sometimes.
Yeah, and someone did actually say a very good point the other day, was apparently that that Sasha wasn't worrying too much about challenging for the SmackDown Women's Championship when she was when she was a tag champ, when she was winning, her and Bayley. So
I think it's
never
just,
officially.
I really see both sides of it.
Yeah.
Well, they said they would look to do one. So Mr. Cody Ball. Well, they never officially announced a tournament. They said they look to do one. It's no big loss. I think, obviously that announcement, obviously Pat McAfee said, obviously he didn't know what was coming.
Pat McAfee says a lot of things.
Yeah, he said he didn't know what was coming from Cole, and it definitely was a Vince instruction to Michael Cole to say this stuff, and we'll deal with it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, the fact they haven't announced anything yet, and you're thinking a weird way that they would try to rush this onto this pay-per-view to be like, well, we're doing the women's tag belts without you. To just only even just to spite Sasha and Naomi, just put them on the pay-per-view, put them in a good spot on the show. Just be like, look, we don't need you to have a women's tag division. We just have, because the thing is, they've shown for years with the men's tag division, they don't give a crap. They don't really care about it. So, like, they're happy just to have teams split up and teams be reformed. Because if you look at the fact that WrestleMania, like, all the people in that tag match at one point had other tag team partners, that have either been champions together or, had challenged the belts previously. And they don't care because it's WWE. Let's go, well, they were tag team and now not, Like, if we look at Shayna and Nia, they at one point were like the dominant tag team in the women's division, and then they released Nia, and now Shayna was teaming with Natalia lately. That's probably, I don't know if that's still going. And Matt Ball, I don't know how WT coming. She closed. Guess we're in reference to Naomi. But look, I think, while I support what they're trying to do, I think the way they've gone about and done it just isn't the best. Considering that track record that WWE have, like, they're just going to get very, very corporate. They're going to lawyer up, and they're going to make it very difficult for them to kind of have anything, any way back into the company, I feel. Which, to be fair, is at WWE's detriment, because I think they definitely need, they could definitely deal with having Naomi and Sasha as part of the roster still.
Yeah.
Did you get your prediction out of the way, though, for this match, though? You said Becky, maybe Bianca, didn't you?
I think I said Bianca. Well, if I didn't, then Bianca's my pick anyway. But yeah, so I think Bianca's going to win, possibly pin Becky. I think at this stage, Becky can probably afford to take the pin a little bit more.
She was champion for ages.
Than Asuka, yeah. Especially if you've just brought Asuka back, you're going to build her up and stuff. I'm honestly, I would not be surprised though if they now try and get Bayley back.
Bit sooner.
ASAP, basically, yeah. I mean, we don't know what her injury status is, whether she is good to go or what, but you got to think, obviously, they're missing out. They've not got Charlotte because, congratulations, she just got married. And then, obviously, the whole thing with Sasha being like another one of the top women stars not being there. I guess, you could even say it opens up the door for somebody else to kind of step into them shoes, or will they go with Bayley, and I think it might be impossible, I think, for them to bring Bayley back as a villain, because she's just so, like, adored by the fans. I think the minute her music hits, it will just be like that reaction will just be off the chain, like the roof will come off the building.
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously it's been a long time, and obviously she didn't get a WrestleMania moment last year in terms of a match anyway. Face Bay needs to come back. I think, especially they would have played
the Bailey buddies and everything. Yeah,
I
needs
think,
the whole shebang.
Seeing all that back would be quite fun, and that's one where I'd say like she could come right in and win the championship straight away, you know, because they're ready to go with her. But
what kind of
I
dodgy
think
music would they give her though?
well, that's the thing now. All the good stuff's gone now, isn't it? You know,
generic pop track 3 or something.
I mean, what's happened with Lacey Evans? Is she still about?
She was meant to be. She was meant to be wrestling this week on Raw, but apparently sustained some kind of bicep injury at a NASCAR event over the weekend. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
even that. I think they can't decide whether they want her as a baby face or a heel. So they're not.
That's that forever problem. But if I was them, I would be trying to make women's tag teams as many as possible. And because the thing at the end of the day, now they say, well, they don't want to be, they don't want to be proving Sasha and Naomi correct, essentially. So I don't know why they haven't decided to do that over the past couple of weeks. Or are they in hope that they're going to make things up with Sasha and Naomi? But with them obviously removing them, I think, from shows through July, it seems that, that might not be the case. And Bailey needs original music back. Well, that's the thing, Paul. We're talking about a company who just fires people, all the people that make music for them, and they get really awful themes.
Is it a CFO Money tune, that one?
I'm not too sure. It was ages ago, wasn't it? Would have been like 2015, 2014.
Yeah.
They've had about 5 different music groups since then. So,
I mean, I don't know, can they still use Jim Johnson theme songs? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like that not all people are treated. The thing is, though, on subject of themes, like we talk about all the time, like how good Cody's theme is, because obviously it was a song that's written for him. It means a lot, and it's a song. Like it's a proper song, and so it works. And then obviously you've got people even like Ronda Rousey. They've got that the Joan the Jets thing. They've licensed that. They're paying for the license, and it works because when that music hits, you know who's coming out. But then you flop it to insert any of the other women, really, or a lot of the other women on the roster.
Like Shayna Baszler, for example, she had a banging theme song, and then as soon as some random music hit at Royal Rumble, I'm like, who the hell's this? And then it's like, oh, it's Shayna Baszler.
I mean, Viking Raid as well. They had a banging thing for ages, and then they got to that with now they got the whole raid thing. But like it just seems that music, sadly, it's gone really downhill. There's so few things now we actually know who people are. But
I've just checked as well. It is CFO Money, by the way. It was CFO Money.
Well, my prediction for this match though is that Bianca Belaire will retain, but I'm hoping that she drops it fairly soon. I know she only won it recently, but I think we keep seeing these long reigns, and I think we need to get more women in that title picture. Get the belt about a bit. Like you can't rely on the same as proven now. Like with Sasha and Charlotte now not active members of the roster, let's say for now. Bailey as well. Like, you can't just rely upon the same few people to prop up your women's division. And obviously Ronda, I guess she's not on this PLE. They're going to save her, I guess, for the stadium shows potentially. I'm guessing. You can't just rely on a handful of women. You need more.
Yeah, and then obviously the next PLE that they've got is Money in the Bank, and we know that the only woman I think that's held that for longer than a day, I think, has been Carmella. All the rest.
And she was long. Yeah, she had it for like almost a year, didn't she?
Yeah, and all the rest of them have just been like either on the night or the next day kind of cash-ins. And obviously, the one that's playing off of the story from this match, obviously, was Asuka winning it in 2020, and then Becky, obviously, the next night on Raw, revealing that she's pregnant and that the winner actually would get the Raw Women's Championship rather than to be able to cash in the Money in the Bank. But I think even that they could have still done something else with that, and still had the Money in the Bank briefcase about, because it seems like
it was very
the match in as an afterthought, isn't it? So
I think I will allow them fully for 2020 because it was such a weird time where they didn't know whether they were even at one point. There was that whole like they didn't even know they could continue, you know, obviously, and rightly so. They turned around and said, "Look, we can't produce television anymore because of the climate, what's going on in the world, and so look, you know, let's just have, you know, that might have been a decision that was made." I think Becky wants to do it too, like to kind of, you know, at least hand the title over to someone rather than kind of, and at least she kind of technically won it and didn't obviously, you know, wasn't handed technically. She did win it, but didn't know that she won it when she won it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like absolute mental times that. But hopefully, you know, this year, obviously, we have obviously Money in the Bank, our prediction and stuff coming up for that. So we'll save a lot of our thoughts of that. I know you and I in particular have lots of thoughts about obviously that briefcase and kind of what can be done. So if you join us for those ones, obviously next month. Or sorry, actually, we'll technically be later. Well, yeah, it will be end of June, won't it? I guess when we do our predictions.
End of June, yeah. So yeah, it should be a whole heap of fun that
because
one.
It's coming up. But yeah.
Yeah, so should we move on to the next match, which is another match that was announced on this episode of Raw, and that is a 6-person tag team match, which is, I'm calling them the Club, the team of AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Liv Morgan, taking on the Judgment Day of Edge, Damian Priest, and Rhea Ripley. So, yeah, I mean, this one, I guess, is kind of going to lead to something potentially with other people, but who knows? Throw it over to you first.
So we're at the fact that Edge beat AJ twice, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
At both WrestleMania and WrestleMania night, back night 3, whatever it was, Backlash. That's it.
Yeah. So is he going to do it again on WrestleMania night 4?
So yeah, I think this is a very, very interesting, different way for them to do things. And you know, I'm going to say something now that I think people need to get behind this match. The reason being is that what we just spoke about with the women's division, obviously the titles, and the reason why we get so passionate about it and talk about it so much, because that's all WWE do with the women. They're obsessed with the women can only have matches if they are for the Raw or SmackDown or the Women's Tag Team Championships. There's no other reason for the women to exist in WWE apart from those reasons. They've given us very few exceptions to that rule, such as Lana with Rusev, obviously for many years, where she was obviously treated as the manager and, you know, Russian correspondent, etc., to Rusev. And we've had obviously some other minor exceptions where obviously Trish, even saying that, though, they've always been for the championship, such as when Trish Stratus came back and she faced Charlotte Flair for the Women's Championship in her, to date, last match. As we know, these people come back all the time. And obviously 24/7 skits and stuff like that. But outside of that, it's always been the women are only fighting, competing for those championships. So this is why I think people need to get behind this, because this is something where they're going, no, we're happy to put the women in a match like this. And obviously they had the mixed match challenge a few years back now, didn't they? I want to say like 2017, 2018, I think.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. And, you know, it got a lot of good reception, and there was some nice things that came out of it. Like, I think there was a Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss tag team. That was quite fun. You know, and I just think it's just always nice when they do something different. And, you know, I think people need to, and, you know, someone like Liv Morgan, obviously, we spoke about for a lot, you know, we can go back on pretty much any time that we're talking about the women. Liv Morgan's always mentioned by us at some point, I think. You know, we're saying about when are they going to pull the trigger on her, or like what's the kind of, when do you start kind of this live momentum kind of thing. And this could be it, potentially. This could be it. This could be the way they start it, you know. I think, obviously, with Edge's stable getting a lot of TV time and getting a lot of the creative control that's needed for this stuff, like, you know, this Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley kind of rivalry could be something which could be quite interesting, captivating, and different, because it seems that as of now, it's not obviously involving a women's championship, which, as we've said, is just literally what they do. So in terms of the match, I think the face team need to win this. I think I fear that they've already had Edge win twice. I fear that a third time is probably a bit too many. I think at the end of the day, he has got Damian Priest and obviously Ripley there to take a pin, like, so that he doesn't need to necessarily. And I would be up for Liv Morgan pinning Rhea Ripley, and that being the winning bit. it'd be interesting seeing this match too. Like, do they let the women get involved loosely with the guys like we've seen in the past, or will it be kept obviously how it was? But the thing is, this match could have also suited being inside the cell too. To be fair, which is a really, really different dynamic and different way of doing, a match. Which, let's face it, like we've kind of seen everything go in the cell, but we haven't seen this. We haven't seen a mixed, tags scenario inside the cell, and the fuse obviously.
Last time 6 men was Armageddon, wasn't it? 6 people in Hell in a Cell. Armageddon's at 2000.
Yeah, and then you had the 3-on-2 with Mans and Big Show against DX, didn't you? Back in 2006. That's the one, yeah. So that was 3-on-2. But yeah, you haven't had I don't think you've had a 3-on-3 inside Hell in a Cell. You have had tag team inside it. Was it Usos New Day had a tag one, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
But you haven't had a 6-man or 6-person tag, which maybe they will add it, but I doubt they will now. That stipulation it would have been done on Raw, I'm guessing. Yeah. But yeah, I think this is one which I'm looking forward to. It could be very different, and I will go with the Liv Morgan, the club team winning.
Team club. So if you like a lot of biscuit, like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join the club. Yes, obviously the team AJ, Finn, and Liv is who you're going for. Yeah. For me, I am gonna have to stick with my boy Damian Priest, another guy who we interviewed back in November. Scott had a decent chat with Damian Priest where he picked a celebrity partner, his new character, so the Damian and the Priest kind of character, and his theme song, etc. Yes, I think I'm gonna go with a Judgment Day. Now I don't think it's gonna be something clean because I think that we are gonna see a 4th member of the Judgment Day revealed here. Who is it gonna be though is the question. Now, obviously, Edge has thrown around a few names. Thrown around, obviously, Tommaso Ciampa, Corey Graves. He's even mentioned possibly like Finn, AJ. I think it could, it could well be that one of AJ, Finn, or Liv turn on their team to cause the loss and then join the Judgment Day.
Okay.
I'm not confident enough, though, to bonus point it, but that's what I'm assuming or thinking may well happen. You know what? I think it'd be good actually for Liv, I reckon, to possibly join the Judgment Day, because then you have 2 guys, 2 women. The women can obviously go after the women's tag titles. The women can go after. You imagine that, right? The women go after the women's tag titles. You stick like the US title on Priest. You've got Edge just kind of ruling over them. giving his words of wisdom.
Yeah, because Edge didn't need a title.
Edge doesn't need a championship. But yeah, and obviously we've seen Damian Priest with the United States Championship previously. Done a very good job. I thought he was a very good US champion. Didn't defend it enough though for my liking. I would have liked to have seen him have like quite a few more matches with it. And then obviously with obviously Rhea, there is just so much potential there. They can just push her straight to the top if they wanted to, and I feel as though she could hold that women's division in her hands. She looks so believable as well. Like, you wouldn't want to get into a fight with her. She would just kick your butt. So so for me, I'm going all day long. I think Judgment Day. Yes, I don't think it's going to be clean, but I'm not going to risk bonus point in it. So I think we should move on to what we are going to assume is the main event, and that is the only Hell in a Cell match on a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell. Why not just call it No Way Out? So, the Hell in a Cell match between Cody Rhodes and Seth Freakin Rollins. Obviously, didn't interview Seth, but Scott did try on some of Seth Rollins' suits, not the actual ones, but you'll get the drift. So go and check that out over on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. So it is back, I guess, to me for the prediction for this one. Now, Cody currently is 2-0. Yeah, he's 2-0, isn't he? Against Seth. Does he make it 3? I think he does, and this feud is then over, is my thoughts on it. I think they want to push Cody. I don't think they're going to have him lose for a good while. If obviously they are thinking of potentially putting the WWE title on him at SummerSlam, which, we're hearing is one of the potential tentative plans at the moment, then I think, you just have to have him go on a bit of a tear. Get kind of. It's like at the moment he's got like this little gnat on his arm, and he's just like swatting it away, or and just wanting to get Seth out of there, kind of thing. And yeah, I think it just, because I think if you go, so Cody's 1-2. If you go then 2-1. And Seth wins, then Seth's going to want another match to be like, oh, let's even it up. And then, you don't want it to be getting into like the 5, 6, 7 match territory. I think 3 is a decent number. You get the third match out of the way. Like, to be fair, Cody winning 2-0 should just be, look, I've beaten you twice. I don't need to prove myself anymore. But as they say, the ultimate proving ground is the Hell in a Cell match. So, yeah, I think for me, Cody wins, and then this feud is over. They go their separate ways.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because obviously, with the absence of obviously Roman Reigns, who's obviously the current undisputed WWE champion, and with the absence of, at the moment, the Usos, who are the tag champs, and the SmackDown Women's champ, this match, not for a championship, obviously is the main event. And I'm not too fast about only getting, if we do only get one Hell in a Cell match. Like, personally, I think, Extreme Rules last year did the same thing, didn't they? We only had one Extreme Rules match. It was a good one. They built the whole show kind of up to that. But
sometimes less is more.
Yeah, like I think they just don't book feuds where they used to, and this is the result. Like, sadly, because I said a lot of the other stuff on the card is obviously very makeshift, or if it has been built up, like they're building up in like a different direction. So yeah, like you said, the 6-person tag, like, while it could have suited Pat being inside the cell, the reason why it's not in the cell might be because, like you say, they want to introduce a 4th member of the Judgment Day, and they feel it just be easier if it's not got the cell. They feel they don't need the cell attached to it to do that too. And again, because they might end up doing a cell match on television in the coming weeks anyway, so that might be what they're doing. But it just seems like we're in a very odd period where obviously, essentially, they've kind of paused Roman Reigns because obviously he's beaten everyone, and there's no new contenders on the roster. Definitely not on the SmackDown side of things. But obviously, if reports about the brand split effectively being over, are correct. But then that obviously throws a lot of spanners to work around SummerSlam, because how's Cody meant to win the WWE Championship? Like, if obviously that's amalgamated into the Universal Championship, so are they then going to have 2 champions? But then, like, everyone's allowed to go wherever they want. It's very messy. And Money in the Bank as well needs to clarify, because that silly line, obviously, that he threw into that promo last month, where they said that the winner gets the chance to main event WrestleMania, like, that's put some kind of spanners in the work too. Like, what did that mean? Are you aware of this line, Dan? I don't think you watched the event, but it was mentioned, and apparently it was Vince McMahon who added the line in.
Which line?
Yeah, basically, there's the promo for Money in the Bank.
Sorry, yeah, it froze a bit. Oh, the WrestleMania one. Yeah, they've now obviously taken that completely out, because that had him walking across the turf at the Allegiant Stadium, and they realised, oh, we can't sell 50,
Yeah.
60, 70,000 tickets for this event. So we're going to move it to a much smaller venue, which I guess wasn't their first choice. They probably would have gone to, I think it's the Toyota Center or something, but they've got UFC on there that night. So, T-Mobile Arena, that's it.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
they've
I
had to move
think this whole Allegiant Stadium thing was a play on AEW the whole way. I don't think they had ever had any intention of running that venue. I think it was solely because they knew that AEW would run in the end of May for obviously Double or Nothing in Vegas, and they were just like, well, we're gonna run bigger. And obviously, they thought they would split the fan base a bit more, because AEW seems to have that kind of core kind of 10,000 who just follow them everywhere and buy all the tickets every single time. Whereas obviously WWE, obviously they will get tickets sold because obviously they are obviously the biggest wrestling company on the planet, but they're not. I don't think yet people are seeing the Money in the Bank at the WrestleMania or SummerSlam levels, where it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to sell like 50, 60K tickets. But the fact that it existed, I think definitely they feel that it's been a benefit to them. But yeah, like obviously that whole promo package though, yeah, if it's been retconned, that's fair enough. But yeah, Money in the Bank, essentially they're going to have to decide what to do. Because obviously, from a male perspective, going to Money in the Bank, the belts are unified, but are they? Because there's still two actual physical belts. So could we see obviously Cody, the winner? So that almost gave a prediction for who I think might win Money in the Bank. Could we see the person who wins the men's Money in the Bank ladder match? Could they cash in for just the WWE Championship?
Yeah, I think that's probably how that, because I think at the moment, I think they're more going to focus on Roman with like the Universal Championship, because obviously that's got the longer reign. So that's probably what they're gonna go with. And I think if anything, then he will give up the WWE title, and they will eventually, I think, possibly go back to the two belts. But then it is a thing of if they are going down this whole like ending the brand split route, then you don't need two championships.
But then they need to obviously make women's belts as well. They've already merged the tags, and then potentially look to get rid of one of the mid card titles. But mind saying that, they always had the US and IC titles, didn't they?
It could make them mean. Yeah, it could make them lose.
I honestly just don't think they know. Honestly, my take on it is I don't think they've had a clear idea of what to do since they decided to merge the belts. And the only reason they were forced to do that because of circumstances. They knew that they couldn't shift WrestleMania for a third time with Brock and Roman as the main event, essentially, with just one belt. And they were cornered. They put themselves into a corner where obviously they've utilised obviously Brock's PLE appearances, obviously Bishop Boss straight away. Day one Rumble, Chamber,
Elimination
Mania,
Chamber,
and they just thought, we got to make it big, and that's the only way they knew to do it. But the minute he won the belt, there should have been someone kind of chomping at the heels of him to be like, right, I'm your next contender. But there's not. And so that's why I feel like he's been paused. And it is a case of like, essentially, like this Cody and Seth match is a case of this better be good, because if there's any kind of thing kind of banner thrown in with this one, or any kind of doubt, like it is a case of, we know what's happening. We know that Brock will be called back, and that will be the program again for the summer. They will run back Brock and Roman because there'll be no other person to challenge Roman. And I know, obviously, I don't know, is the Orton thing a work where he's injured, or was it legit? Wasn't that
not
on the table?
Yeah, no, we've not heard anything about it.
Wasn't it meant to be Riddle? Meant to face Riddle at Money in the Bank, and then...
Yes, I think it was meant to be... I think it was... Well, so the original plan was Riddle at Hell in a Cell, I think. And then... No, sorry. Riddle at Money in... No, yeah, Riddle at Money in the Bank, I think then...
Yeah, then Orton at SummerSlam.
Orton SummerSlam. And then Drew at Clash at the Castle.
Okay, but then you've got Tyson Fury kind of knocking about too, potentially. So yeah, it's an interesting time really, where I think obviously they've got to determine kind of what they want to do. And obviously this is all coming, like I said, in the midst of have the end of the brand split. Like, is there two championships? Got Money in the Bank coming as well. Well, obviously the women, like I say, their one's quite at the moment until let's say do a unification match in the next few weeks. At the moment, the women's one is as it was. It's a case of well, they get the choice between the two brands and they can challenge and blah blah. But the men's one, it's a bit difficult because do you challenge for both those championships and win those, or do you challenge them individually, or because obviously, has Roman had a match at all for either championship since unifying them? I don't think he has he?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, but it was 6-man tag, wasn't it?
Because that was meant to be, obviously, wasn't it, for the unified tag titles, and then they just suddenly decided they weren't going to do that, and apparently it was planned all along. But probably Vince got bored and was like, "Oh, let's just do it."
But going on that though, the only thing I can assume, this match has to have some sort of Money in the Bank implications, and I believe that they're not going to stop the Cody train. This has those vibes like when Batista beat Triple H like 3 times in a row. To me, this kind of feud, it just kind of feels like you're setting up Cody because Seth is expendable in the case of this. Like I said, we've spoken about Seth many times this time before. Like obviously how it, how from 2019 to now, it feels very much like he's positioned the company has kind of changed, where he's not seen as the guy who will. He's seen as a kind of the 3rd or 4th choice, basically, after a few people, basically. He's kind of set in that kind of spot. But I think, I don't see him stopping the Cody train, especially before Money in the Bank. I think, obviously, he is probably one of the favourites to win that match. If he's in it, I guess. We don't know, obviously. The thing is, really, again, with this pay-per-view, once we get out of the way, hopefully next week on Raw on Monday, we'll start learning how that match will take place. Because, like I said, it's how many people are going to be in it, and again, it could, to me, it should dictate kind of where they feel about the brand split too, because will they stick to 4 from Raw, 4 from SmackDown, or will it be a case of here's just 6 or 8 superstars essentially?
Yeah, I hope they do something where they do like qualifiers to get into it rather than just say, oh, these are the 6 people that are going into the match. Like I much prefer it when they do like have it mean like people earn their way into it, because in that way at least you can always think like, oh yeah, there could be like a surprise like entrant into the match kind of thing, and it's like, this person, and then you have like obviously the Otis thing a couple of years ago. Obviously, Scott obviously he's not on the stream here, but he still raves about that to this day, and how much he really enjoyed seeing Otis as Mr. Money in the Bank. I think he's
his favorite thing. But I think this is where obviously looking at obviously AEW and something which I think they do quite well, because obviously have less pay-per-views obviously throughout the year. I do feel they are able to build this stuff up quite well. Obviously, I do think they are really overstacking their events. I think 13 matches over with how many it was for Double Nothing the other day. I think that's excessive.
It was double the amount of these ones.
A lot of the stuff though, but I think a lot of the stuff though was set up for a long time. Like the Owen Hart Foundation, tournament thing that's been going on for I think at least 6 weeks now. Where it's been a case of they've had qualifiers, they've had the actual tournament take place, and they built up to the finals. It's like it made it like a bigger deal. When obviously they had the finals and stuff, and even with the Punk thing, it's been brewing for the past 4 months. They've been able to have one storyline, and I think with WWE it's just a case of it just kind of, there's so much that goes on, and they're having to just go, oh, now there's a PLE, oh, now there's another one, whereas they can actually build the stuff up, like Money in the Bank. Something like Money in the Bank, for instance, it'd be nice if they didn't have if Hell didn't exist, for instance. You could have built this up really from mid-April, of building up, like I said, the qualifying matches, having people getting taken out the match, having someone return, a week before kind of thing, to get that, claim their spot, having a wild card entrant, for instance. Whoever it could be, and then building up obviously once you get your 6 or 8, you're going to have, they can obviously have tag matches against each other and singles matches, amongst each other to really build up. But as we know now, it's going to be pretty much, they're probably going to announce most of them, aren't they, on Raw next week?
Most likely, yeah. They'll probably just be like, oh yeah, we're going to have 8-person A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. There you go. There's your lineup. Go in there. And then they'll probably what they'll probably do is they'll announce 6 people, then they'll probably have 3 people lose matches and lose their spot in the match, which they could literally have just done a qualifying match initially. We don't need to know. Year, just literally have vacant, take all 6 spots at the moment, or 8 spots, however many you want to do, and then
I think the winner of Cody or Seth should to actually get that like a Hell in a Cell to get that first spot, because I think if you ever win a Hell in a Cell match, you know, like against like someone like of either person's caliber at this stage, I think that qualifies, and that's enough to get your graphic and to get the person in the match at least. But yeah, the other spot should be, in my opinion, up for grabs. And there's some interesting people that you could have like in the match, but again, that's more for next month. But yeah, like I think for me anyway, this shows really how kind of disposable this event is, because I think everything really that I want to see is coming after this event. You know, this whole summer that we're going to experience, hopefully, with obviously, you know, Money in the Bank. Obviously now it is moved to an arena, but fair enough. SummerSlam in the stadium. Our Clash at the Castle over here inside the stadium. You know, that stretch I think is going to be like their big part of the year, really, outside of Mania. So I think, you know, this just seems, and it's so sad. It's so sad. The Hell in a Cell match, iconic Hell in a Cell match that, you know, when we first started watching wrestling, you know, it was like the final boss of WWE. It was like the top attraction, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, you'd see like one every few years sort of thing. It was never kind of like, oh, we're going to do it every year just because we've got a pay-per-view. Like the same with the Elimination Chamber as well. I think a lot of these like matches have kind of lost their like star appeal because they just do them so often.
Yeah. To answer Vinny's question from earlier, I think that Seth might do the Shawn Michaels bump off the cell. I don't think he'd get thrown off, but he'd do the whole like, you know, climbing it and then getting pulled down like he did originally with, was it Ambrose? I want to say.
Not
Him
sure.
and Ambrose they both went crash with the table, I think.
Didn't Drew and Orton do that like last year or year before?
Yeah. I think they do that one. I think obviously it's a safer spot. You know, both men are most likely going to be wrestling on Raw the next night. Like I think it's a safer way, and I don't think anyone's really kind of out for either man to be thrown off the cell. You know, it's not in their kind of forte or wheelhouse. Like they're not showing up now Jeff Hardy. You know, so I think that will be as much as we see. But if it is the only Hell in a Cell match, it will be nice for it to go outside. And you've got to imagine with Cody being the kind of storytelling mark that he is, he'd want to have homages to certain other Hell in a Cell matches that have happened. You know, because he is very, you know, story wrestling mind oriented, isn't he? You know, and thinking about how the history of the business, history of that match in particular. So I think there would be some little moments in there. Because that's another reason why this Edge thing could have worked well inside the cell. Because Edge and Taker had a Hell in a Cell match where, you know, Taker chokeslammed him obviously through into the abyss or whatever, didn't they? They used some sort of flame effect or something, and it made it look like he got chokeslammed straight to hell. You know, and I thought this could suit I thought that could suit the Edge thing with this, but I actually think now, even though I predict the other way, I think what you said about that one is probably correct. Introducing a fourth member. But look, this could be a good show, though. This could be a good show. I don't think Backlash wasn't too bad. Hopefully it's not like a long show.
Who are you going for in the main? Did you say Cody?
I said Cody, yeah.
Cool.
He's the one to push at the moment.
Yeah, so it's we reckon it's going to be 3-0 Cody Rhodes then. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, I just think it could be a fun show. It's just down to, you know, their shoddy storyline, the shoddy storyline and the shoddy writing, basically, that we're kind of forced to endure nowadays. The only reason why I'm not kind of thinking, oh wow, I'm really excited about all this stuff. But it's nice to see other matches.
Different partnerships of people as well, yeah.
Yeah, and it would be nice to see, hopefully, the return of kickoff matches. I don't know why we're not used. I mean, I do know why, but I think it's a silly reason. I think just bring them back. Like it'd be a good way just to get the IC Championship on, or, you know, well, I think it would be a bit distasteful now, I guess, to put the women's tag belts on the pre-show. But yeah, just to get like some other matches kind of on there, because it feels a bit like you're just wasting time otherwise, in my opinion, not having like a little pre-show match for like 10 minutes. I don't see why, but I mean, I do see why, but I still think the reason's a bit silly.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Yeah, you obviously with the women's tag titles and that, you wouldn't want them to put them on there because they don't have any champions at the moment. So there we go. So yeah, I think I don't think I've really got anything more to add to that. I mean, unless you've got anything else that you want to add, then yeah, I guess we can skedaddle on out of here.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that is it then from us for the I nearly said Money in the Bank. That is because we've spoken quite a lot about Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
That is it from us for the Hell in a Cell 2022 predictions. Obviously, I've been Dan, he's been Lucas. Thank you very much to you guys for tuning in. Thanks for the guys who commented as well. Let's hope for a nice show, and it's not too long. And on the kickoff show, or whatever it is what is it that we call it again? It's the not recap and review, build-up show. That's the one. On the build-up show, you will have Scott and Rob back, and they will be giving their predictions. Obviously, we've given them a bit of an advantage because we've already done ours. So, yeah, don't be copying our answers, boys. All right.
Yeah, but sometimes it confuses people, doesn't it? More than
yeah, true.
I think we disagreed on a few of them. We give them some interesting points. They might get confused.
Yeah, so yeah. Don't watch this beforehand, boys. All right, don't cheat. So yeah. Anyway, that is everything from us. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you very soon. Take care. Bye. Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.